This is Part 2, Episode 178. The demon god Emperor's gaze was still cold. He did not feel pained over the death of a demon god at all, since he could just nurture a new one. However, the demon god pillars were the true foundations of the demon race, just like the frame that held up the entire race. 3 demon god pillars had already been destroyed. It did not seem like much, but what if this continued? What would happen after a decade or two? Would more demon god pillars be destroyed? Visago. The demon god emperor shifted his gaze from the moon demon god to the star demon god. Visago nodded. After receiving the news, I performed a prophecy immediately that was only about whether Austin Griffin had appeared or not. It should be accurate. The person who destroyed the demon god pillar was Long Houchen, but for some reason, I could sense an aura of life from his body. He's not an undead like what the prophecy of life had foretold. With that, the demon god emperor had instead become relieved. He nodded. That actually makes sense. Long Houchen saved Yi Xiaolei, while Yi Xiaolei is a clone that the goddess of nature had left behind. She's basically the existence with the strongest vitality. With her, Long Houchen really might be able to recover his heart. At least, she will give Long Houchen a very powerful aura of life. Visago understood. Is that so? No wonder. After the prophecy of life last time, the demon god emperor's trust in the star demon god's prophecies increased. With his accurate judgment, the demon god emperor's complexion became slightly better. As long as Austin Griffin really had died back then, there was no need for him to take Long Houchen so seriously. However, Long Houchen still needed to die. He was an existence who possessed part of Austin Griffin's bloodline. Once he had grown to a level where he was beyond control, he would be able to deal a fatal strike to the demons. Your Majesty, do we still follow the original plan? The demon god of death Samijina asked politely. The demon god emperor furrowed his brows. Are we all prepared? Samijina nodded. In 3 days at most, the army will be completely organized. Although there aren't as many soldiers as the Holy War last time, but the army of 1,000,000 organized this time are all elites of their respective clans. Under your Majesty's lead, they can definitely tear through all obstacles. The demon god emperor nodded. All right. Let's follow the plan for now. Agars, I want accurate news of the north within the next 3 days. Yes, your Majesty, Agars answered politely. Then we can disperse. Everyone make your preparations. The demon god emperor stood up and waved his hand, turning around and making his way to the back of the palace. Arbao, who had been standing beside him, hurried behind him. However, after having heard Long Houchen's name once more, Arbao could not help but clench his fists. With the demon god emperor's departure, the demon gods present immediately relaxed. Their expressions were no longer as tense as before. They notified familiar demon gods as they left the demon emperor palace. The star demon god Visago was obviously with the moon demon god Agars. The 2 demon gods left the demon emperor palace slowly, while they seemed rather stern. Third brother, what do you think? As they walked, Agars asked Visago. Although this was within Modu, they still communicated with each other secretly. With their cultivation, even the demon god emperor could not eavesdrop on them. Visago frowned and shook his head gently. Agars was just too familiar with him. As soon as Agars saw his expression, he was surprised. You're not optimistic about our army. There's still a fundamental difference between the humans' strength compared to ours. His Majesty's made up his mind this time as well. Won't we be able to destroy the humans? Visago sighed. Second brother, don't you still remember what I had said after I had used the great prophecy technique for Long Houchen and Austin Griffin in the past? Long Houchen's existence completely threatens the reign of our race. That time was also our only chance. He purposefully stressed the word only, such that even Agars could not help but gasp. Are you saying that Long Houchen's already become a proper threat? Visago nodded. According to the news from the north, it's very likely that Long Houchen has received the recognition of the divine throne of eternity and creation, the leading divine throne of the 6. This divine throne has never chosen a master in the past 6,000 years. Ever since it descended, it had only served as a symbolic purpose. This proves a lot of issues. And its user is Long Houchen as well. That's not all. I suspect that Austin Griffin is still alive. Long Houchen can survive like this, so why can't Austin Griffin do the same? Since Austin Griffin can be reborn, its vitality will definitely be extremely powerful. And according to my research about blood pacts, even if the contractor survive once the blood pact has ended, the power of the pact will gradually weaken. However, Long Houchen has used the power of Austin Griffin's bloodline to destroy the tree demon god's demon god pillar. So how can the power of his bloodline be weak? And, during the prophecy this time, I sensed a great power by Long Houchen's side supporting him. Agars was completely shocked. Third brother, why didn't you say so before His Majesty earlier? Visago smiled indifferently. Why would I mention it? Even if I do, would His Majesty believe me? If I mention it before so many demon gods, he might even blame me for making our morale waver. I've already died once. I don't want to die again. When he reached there, cold light flashed through the bottom of his eyes. Who knew what he was thinking? Agars fell quiet as well. He patted Visago's shoulder gently. Third brother, go back and rest well. We might be setting off in the next few days. With that, he strided away. Looking at Agar's back, Visago sighed. Second brother, oh second brother. Do you really think I don't know anything? If you hadn't, for my sake. He shook his head firmly and Visago let out a long sigh once more, before turning around. As he left, he continued to think. Agars directly returned to his moon demon palace. After returning to his residence in the back, he sat on the throne he usually liked the most and closed his eyes. He seemed to be thinking about something. Exactly 15 minutes later, he seemed to have decided something. He suddenly stood up and arrived before a bookshelf. He pulled out an inconspicuous book from the bookshelf. Immediately, the bookshelf produced a gentle squeaking sound and shifted to the left slowly. It made almost no sound, but in just around a quarter of a minute, a secret door appeared behind the bookshelf. After he had entered it, the bookshelf closed up automatically and the drawn book returned to its original position. Gentle, purple light rose up from Agar's body. It illuminated pitch-black tunnel. He walked over around a dozen meters before going down a flight of stairs, before there was light. Who is it? A stifled voice rang out. It's me. Agars said differently. A figure covered in black clothes appeared before him silently. How's the situation? Agars and the person in black entered a gloomy room. The arrangement of the room were very simple. There was a bed, a table and 2 chairs. Some food was placed on the table. Agars did not sit down. He stood in the room. The situation is very delicate, so it's difficult to say right now. However, according to Visago, the demon god emperor's operation this time might not succeed. Visago had stressed that the plan that targeted Long Houchen and the bright glimmer of hope had been their only chance of success. Now that Long Houchen is still alive, so it means that they've used up all their chances. In other words, it's very likely that the demons will begin to decline. Is Visago trustworthy? The person in black asked seriously. Agars nodded. He should be trustworthy. That was what he said back then, and Visago has always been on good terms with me. I even suspect he knows a few things. I need to find an opportunity and properly discuss matters with him. Then what should we do? The person in black asked again. Agars pondered the question and answered, according to the demon god emperor's original plan, we were supposed to advance westward after gathering the army and destroy the southeastern fort that's the closest to our core city, and then continue west, deep into the Union's territory. We will directly kill our way to the Holy City, so the Temple Union is forced to battle us in Holy City. At that time, Long Houchen will definitely return. We will achieve everything in a single stroke, and completely cripple the humans in Holy City. At the same time, we will use this holy war as an opportunity to pillage the humans. Not only will we steal their wealth, we have to kidnap a large number of humans as well, such that the humans will lose everything they've accumulated over the past few thousand years. We will then spare the humans. We will retreat after draining everything the humans have. Of course, during the process of the war, we have to kill the leading figures of the humans. The first on the list is Long Houchen. That is a good idea. It's simple and straightforward, suppressing the humans with absolute strength and without any underhanded methods. Is the demon god emperor going to change his plans after finding out the tree demon god has fallen in battle? The person in black asked. Agars shook his head. At least he hasn't changed his mind yet. This plan is definitely the most beneficial to the humans. Do you know why the demon god emperor had gathered over 50 demon gods in Modu? And why he's got them to bring their demon god pillars? The person in black was surprised. He answered, isn't it to gather strength to declare war against the temple union? Agar sneered, others might not know, but how can I not know? The demon god emperor treats Long Houchen with a kind of fear. What he's most afraid of right now is actually Long Houchen, just leading his bright glimmer of hope deep into the territory of the demons, and specially targeting us demon gods. There's nothing he can do if that does happen. Agars continued, the demon god emperor has told me that Long Houchen is currently very strong. To be able to describe someone as very strong with the demon god emperor's cultivation, Long Houchen's cultivation has probably exceeded what normal demon gods can deal with. That is why he has gathered the majority of the demon gods, to prevent Long Houchen from taking them out one by one. At the same time, he can gather strength for the war. The demon god emperor's plan really can be regarded as comprehensive. Then what do we do now? Do we alert Long Houchen? The person in black asked. Agars shook his head, no, we keep waiting. I've already decided. The holy war this time is an important opportunity for us, but even if we do communicate with Long Houchen, we have to wait for reliable information. This time, we can't afford anything to go wrong. Once we receive reliable information, I'll personally pay a visit. All right. Bang. The huge demon god pillar immediately shattered, flying through the sky as countless fragments. Long Houchen hovered in the air as his pair of huge, white wings were completely unfurled. He seemed like an angel visiting from heaven. Right below the demon god pillar, a demon god had already lost all of his aura of life. The battles in the 6 northern provinces had already come to an end. The human army that had split up into 6 groups was unstoppable, taking all 6 capital cities without a single doubt. Out of them, Long Houchen had found 2 demon gods, which both died to his hands. Even their demon god pillars were destroyed. The number of destroyed pillars now reached 5. Old man Xiao, what's the situation in the city? Long Houchen asked Xiao Hua beside him. Xiao Hua smiled, everything has been very successfully. Xiao and the others have basically dealt with their issues. All of the resources and spatial rings had been taken away by the magicians. The demon god pillars been destroyed as well. What do we do next? Long Houchen said, according to how much time's passed, the demon god emperor should have received reliable information no matter what. He should be taking action. Let's gather our troops first and attack another province to the south. Let's play hide and seek with the demon god emperor. What? A voice rang out in the demon god emperor's residency. Looking the handsome Agars, the demon god emperor broke out in a fury. He suddenly stood up and paced around the room. Agars stood to one side with his hands by his side and looked at the flustered demon god emperor. He thought of something, but he did not show it at all on the surface. What a good Long Houchen. Only after pacing around for 5 minutes did the demon god emperor stop. He squinted his eyes and his fury gradually subsided. It was replaced by a sliver of admiration. He made the most correct judgment in the shortest amount of time and committed to it, killing 3 of our demon gods first and destroyed the 6 northern capitals. He's trying to draw me over. The demon god emperor said coldly. Agars nodded. I've reached the same conclusion as your majesty. The news this time should be extremely accurate. The army that Long Houchen leads is not particularly large, but completely composed of elites. According to the scouts' reports, they have over 20 powerhouses of the 9th step in his army and none of them have a weak cultivation. Probably only by gathering the upper echelon of the 6 temples can produce a force like this. Since that's the case, the other human forts should be empty. Are we going to follow the plan and directly attack the northeastern fort? The demon god emperor squinted his eyes. After a while of thought, he shook his head. No, Long Houchen's shaken the foundation of my race. The 6 northern provinces are already in a mess. If it isn't dealt with, it'll threaten our reign. The cleverest part about Long Houchen is that he did not engage in wanton massacre, only destroying the economic heart of the 6 provinces. He's only destroyed and pillaged the 6 capitals. That's a fatal blow to the economy of the 6 provinces. Will the clans there stay quiet about this? There's no need for the humans to do anything, and the clans will automatically fall into internal strife from the lack of food sources. Before long, the entire north will descend into chaos. If we don't quell it, the chaos will definitely extend southward. If it ends up covering too great of an area, we'll be fighting at the front while behind us has fallen into chaos, which will make it difficult to determine the final victor of this holy war. The north must be stabilized, and it must be done quickly. Long Houchen's cleverest move is attacking a key point which invites reinforcements, forcing me to submit to his plan. Agars nodded. Your Majesty, why don't you let me lead the Moon Demon clan over? I have confidence that even if I can't kill Long Houchen, I can force him and his group back to the territory of the humans. You'll still be able to carry out the plan. As long as the Union is in danger, Long Houchen will have to respond accordingly. The demon god emperor nodded gently. That's an idea. With your influence among the race, stabilizing the 6 northern provinces won't be an issue. As long as you last until we plunder enough resources from the humans, then the other problems will be dealt with as well. However, have you considered this other question? What if you can't stop Long Houchen and you're defeated instead? Agars was surprised. Your Majesty, does Long Houchen already possess the strength to defeat me? The demon god emperor shook his head. He doesn't yet. However, his cultivation's already quite powerful now. Most importantly, he possesses 2 supra-divine tools. The divine throne of eternity and creation is definitely one of them, while the other is a shield. When he saved Yi Xiaolei, he used the might of the shield to keep me back. Otherwise, how would he have been able to take away Yi Xiaolei in my presence? If he really does have over 29th step powerhouses by his side, which includes the bright glimmer of hope, he'll be difficult to deal with. And we still have 7 or 8 demon gods scattered inland. If he continues his attack, it won't just be an issue of a wavering foundation anymore. Agars asked, Your Majesty, you mean? The demon god emperor's eyes flickered with cold light. I'll give him what he wants. Last time, he had said that he hoped that he could fight with me and die in my hands. I granted him that honor. This time, I will grant him the same honor. I'd like to see whether he revives or not. With that, the demon god emperor returned to his throne. He said seriously, Agars, under my order, the Moon Demon clan and Star Demon clan will send half of their people. You can choose 20 demon gods to accompany you, and then ask for 200 clansmen above the 7th step from both Samijina and Marbas. You will enter battle with me. Arbao. Father, Arbao, who stood to one side, took a few steps forward in a hurry. The demon god emperor glanced at him coldly. Enter battle with me. I will give you 20 clansmen to serve as the vanguard. Set off tonight. Your mission is to find the exact location of Long Houchen and his army. Wait for us to arrive, and we will destroy them in one fell swoop. Yes, father. Arbao was unable to hide the excitement in his eyes. He immediately dropped one knee to the ground and accepted the order. The demon god emperor said seriously, I know, you've already wanted to kill Long Houchen personally. In the past few years, your cultivation has soared as well. However, you are serving as the vanguard. You cannot rush in prematurely, nor are you allowed to clash with Long Houchen recklessly. You must think for the army. If you are discovered by Long Houchen, you only need to lead the clansman to keep him busy and pass the news back to the army. Yes, father. Arbao bowed towards the demon god emperor once more before turning around and leaving in a hurry. Watching Arbao leave, Agars could not help but say hesitantly, "Your Majesty, the Crown Prince is extremely ambitious. If you let him lead the vanguard, I'm afraid he'll." The demon god emperor smiled indifferently. How will he be able to improve without experiencing setbacks? He's my son. Long Houchen still won't be able to kill him. I'll just let him go clash with Long Houchen. I'd like to see which of them is stronger. If it weren't for Long Houchen, who had ruined my plans, I would have passed the position of demon god emperor to Arbao already. Agars was surprised by that and immediately understood. The crown prince was actually stronger than he seemed. The demon god emperor continued, "Summon Samijina, Marbas and Valefor when you pass on my order." "Yes, your majesty." Agars already had a vague idea of the demon god emperor's plans. He sighed to himself and did not say anything about it. He quickly backed out of the hall and passed on the demon god emperor's order. Modu had already prepared with great intensity for quite a while now. With the demon god emperor's command, the surroundings of Modu surged about. 2 hours later, the demon god of death Samijina, the hell demon god Marbas, and the bear demon god Valefor rushed into the demon emperor palace. As soon as Valefor had entered the palace, he whirled his arm about. "Fourth brother, fifth brother, looks like His Majesty trusts us the most. He's passed such an important and good mission to us. Ha ha. I wonder whether Agars and Visago are banging their heads against their walls in their palaces out of depression." The demon gods were divided into factions as well. The moon demon god and star demon god were on good terms, which everyone knew about, while the demon god of death, hell demon god, and bear demon god were on rather close terms as well. Just the overall strength of their clans, that is, if the fiend clan, hell demon clan and bear demon clan were combined, would exceed the moon demon clan and star demon clan, because they possessed an absolute advantage in numbers. However, they were still ranked lower. Samijina sneered, "What's there to be happy about? That's right, we've got the good mission this time, but we can only celebrate once we've taken the humans' fort. The humans aren't that easy to be dealt with. And, His Majesty hasn't necessarily given us this important mission, because he trusts us more. It's because he believes we aren't a threat to his reign at all." Huh? Valefor looked at Samijina in some confusion. His gaze was asking for a further explanation. The hell demon god Marbas said, "Fourth brother's right. Sixth brother, Agars and Visago have more than their own clans. They're on good terms with many demon gods, so if you look at their total strength, we're nowhere close to being their opponents. And Agars and Visago's personal strength is what's most important. If something happens to His Majesty, and we have to choose a new fifth brother, watch your mouth." Samijina shot him a glance and Marbas immediately shut up. Valefor was rather curious, is Agars really that powerful? If I get the chance, I need to see just how powerful he is. Samijina said seriously, "You don't have to. If the information I possess is correct, then even if we work together, we might not necessarily match Agars." What? This time, it was not just Valefor. Even Marbas was surprised. "Agars is actually so powerful?" Marbas exclaimed. Samijina nodded, "He'll only be more powerful than you imagine. He might behave so politely before His Majesty, but in reality, I have reliable information that Agars has surpassed the 7th rank of the 9th step. He might have even reached the 8th rank of the 9th step. Haven't you realized? In the past century, no matter where His Majesty goes, he will have Agars accompany him. It seems like they're the closest, but really, he's always been wary of second brother. If Agars works with Visago, they can even pose a certain degree of threat to His Majesty. Last time, when His Majesty tried to force Visago into his death, he had directly done so in such a brutal fashion, all because of Austin Griffin. His Majesty really did intend on changing the star demon god back then. Visago's cultivation isn't much weaker than Agars, and his great prophecy technique is terrifying in battle. On that day in the palace, Agars and Visago were not carrying their demon god pillars, or they really might have thrown themselves at His Majesty. In the end, His Majesty didn't force Visago into his death, but I noticed back then that His Majesty looked at Agars at least 5 times when Visago was using his prophecy of life. His gaze was clearly one of caution. And, if I've recalled correctly, when the prophecy of life reaches its last moment, Visago can unleash an attack using a terrifying power of prophecy as its caster. His Majesty might not have possessed the confidence in dealing with the two of them, or retreating safely, which was why he saved Visago in the last moment. Valefor's joy from before completely evaporated after listening to Samijina. He had always believed that although he ranked 6th among the demon gods, his cultivation was basically the same as the demon gods above him. However, after listening to Samijina and finding out that Agars and Visago were actually so powerful, his confidence immediately plummeted. Samijina smiled. Don't get depressed. Most of the time, being overly powerful isn't necessarily good. His Majesty's cultivation has already reached a level we can't imagine. His future goal is to become a god, and then pass on his position to Arbao. Although Arbao's improving very quickly, he's nowhere close to Agars and Visago. Do you understand what I'm saying? Marbas and Valefor's eyes immediately lit up when they heard that. Seeing that they understood, Samijina smiled. Who knows, maybe our rankings will change when that happens. All right, let's go. No matter what, we have to complete His Majesty's mission first. This is an easy task. The humans' wealth is currently waving at us. Whether it was the Temple Union or the demons, they all began to prepare secretly. They were experiencing the calm before an unprecedented war, as Samijina, Marbas and Valefor discussed between themselves. Arbao had already set off with 20 powerhouses from the Devil Dragon clan. He traveled northward as quickly as he could. That's a good idea. If there's only us, it'll be much easier whether it's advancing or retreating, Lin Xin said excitedly. Long Houchen nodded, passed down the order. Han Yu, return with your army. Make preparation near the border outside the dragon-resisting mountain pass for our return. Yes, Han Yu answered, before immediately standing up and leaving. They had just destroyed the demon's 7th provincial capital, and the army had gathered there as well. In the past 7 days, the army had basically been on the constant move around in the north. They were like a powerful storm, tearing through everything they passed by. However, given the current time, the demons must have mobilized themselves already. If the human army were to continue, they would definitely travel further south, and there would be a greater possibility of encountering the reinforcement army from the demons. As a result, after a discussion with his companions, Long Houchen decided to have the army retreat back to the dragon-resisting mountain pass first. The bright glimmer of hope, the eternal heroes, and he would continue their attacks on the demon provinces. Everyone who stayed behind was a powerhouse of the 9th step. No matter what situation they were in, they could retreat safely at the very least. Even if they did not come across the reinforcement army, the next target would be their final battle to lure the enemy out. Rest up and reorganize here for 2 hours, and then head to the Yale province. The Yale province was located in the north. Although it was still very far away from the central province, it was beside the Tombao mountain pass guarded by the Mage Temple. It was not close to the dragon-resisting mountain pass. Currently, they were gathered on a flatter area within some mountains 50 kilometers from the provincial capital they had just destroyed. Although there were quite a few ordinary soldiers in the provinces here, but the threat they posed was basically non-existent. Otherwise, they would not have been able to march right through the demon territory, destroying 6 capitals consecutively in such a short amount of time. According to the information from behind, the 100,000-man demon army stationed outside the Exorcist Mountain Pass had already mobilized its troops, besieging the mountain pass. However, they were not led by a demon god, so they were clearly just putting on an act. If battle really did break out, they would definitely be the ones who would suffer defeat. One of the reasons why Long Houchen had let Han Yu return first was so he could find an opportunity to deal a heavy blow to this demon army, which would reduce the pressure on the Exorcist Mountain Pass even more. Currently, the Exorcist Mountain Pass was the weakest fort out of the 6. They had secretly sent away around half of their people, but they were also protected by 9 eternal heroes. Although there were more soldiers at the Exorcity Mountain Pass than the dragon-resisting Mountain Pass, their strength was nowhere close to 200,000-man demon army Long Houchen had destroyed. Long Houchen's army was a gathering of the true elites of humanity, so the demon army there would pose no threat under Han Yu's command as a divine knight. Just as he thought about the countermeasures and estimated the demon god emperor's possible actions, Long Houchen suddenly raised his head. He looked to the southeast in some doubt. Although Xiao Hua and Shuyong Xiao had exceeded him in terms of cultivation, he was still the strongest there in terms of mental force. As matter of fact, it would not even be an exaggeration to label him as the strongest among all of humanity. As they were located within the territory of the demons, Long Houchen was constantly alert. His mental force had covered a range of over 5 kilometers across, so he would immediately notice any disturbances. There's a demon heading our way. He's not weak, at least of the 8th step, Long Houchen frowned. I'll go. Kia was ready to investigate. Long Houchen shook his head, no need. Let's just wait for him to arrive. He's directly traveling in our direction, so he's clearly discovered us. Since it's only a single person, he'll definitely have something to rely on. He shouldn't be here to fight. As he said that, he smiled. He thought to himself that if he had guessed correctly, it was very likely that the demon would be the person he was waiting for. The person had arrived very quickly. After appearing in Long Houchen's scouting range 10 minutes ago, she appeared on the top of a mountain around the campsite of the human army. As they were located in a flat area among the mountains, they were not particularly well hidden. When the demon saw them, she immediately made his way down. At the same time, she raised her hands high over his head, indicating that she had come peacefully. Very soon, she drew near. From her stature, she was actually a woman. She was covered in black clothes, which also covered her head. It was impossible to tell how she looked like. Stop! Yang Wenjiao stood up in the outskirts and raised his heavy sword, blocking the female demon's path. The person in black stopped. I have no ill intentions. Long Houchen, you really are still alive. As she said that, the person raised her hand and took off the black balaclava around her head. Although Long Houchen had guessed why this demon had come suddenly, he still could not help but become dumbfounded when he saw who it was. Disbelief filled his eyes. Why have you come personally? Wasn't the person standing before Yang Wenjiao in black clothes the most beloved daughter of the moon demon god Agars, princess of the moon demon clan, Yu Yi? After 5 years, Yu Yi seemed mostly the same as before. The lifespan of powerful demons was much longer than humans. 5 years would not leave a single trace on her. However, her gaze did seem even more calm, and her cultivation was greater than before. She had reached the peak of the 8th step, at the very least, and was approaching the 9th. If I don't come in person, how will you trust me? Yu Yi was in slight anguish as her gaze was slightly melancholy as well. In those 5 years, many things had happened, but the figure that had left the deepest impression in her heart never changed. In the past, when she heard about Long Houchen's death, she became drowned in grief for an entire month. She knew that the information she had provided to Long Houchen had become a part of the demon god emperor's trap. And recently, when she heard Long Houchen was still alive, she felt disbelief at first. She completely struggled to believe that he would be revived when even the demon god emperor had confirmed he was dead. It was very difficult for her to describe her emotions back then. Even she herself had no idea whether she felt joy or caution. However, she still ended up coming, and she had arrived before Long Houchen. In the past 5 years, she had almost separated from him forever. Now that they had met again, it felt like an entire lifetime had passed. In Long Houchen's eyes, Yu Yi did not really change, but in her eyes, Long Houchen had changed in an overwhelming manner. He had gained a sense of dignity and nobility compared to before, and he was more mature as well. His inexperience of the past had completely vanished. Just by standing there, he seemed like a whole new person. It was this human, who was still in his 20s, who had actually become the greatest problem bugging the demon god emperor. Suddenly, Yu Yu felt rather proud. The man she liked was so extraordinary. Kia arrived beside Long Houchen unknowingly. She did not make any other gesture, and only stood there quietly. She looked at Yu Yi calmly. Yu Yi returned to her senses after staring at Long Haochen. A hint of sorrow silently welled up in her heart. Of course she knew that their paths would never properly intersect. She took in a deep breath and calmed herself down. Her gaze became determined. Long Haochen, do you still trust me? Before Long Haochen could say anything, Sima Xian had already butted in from one side. How are you supposed to make us trust you? If it weren't for the information you provided back then, would we still have fallen into the demon god emperor's trap? If it weren't for our good fortune, we would have been obliterated a long time ago. Yu Yi nodded silently, yes. Whether it was you or me, we all became sacrificial pawns in the demon god emperor's plan. If you want revenge, then do it. Long Haochen, you currently have two choices. One of them is to kill me for what happened last time. The other is to trust me one more time. Yu Yu studied Long Haochen. Long Haochen clearly studied her as well. He had definitely doubted Yu Yi in the past, but this doubt was never deep. After Long Haochen had been revived, he had carefully thought through the process of when the demon god emperor set down the trap. He found the process to be very strange, because he could not imagine how the demon god emperor had worked out that he would be in Modu. As for Yu Yi, she had gone to Modu before him. She would not have known he would go there with his companions. And demon god emperor had taken very soon after Long Haochen had spoken to her. In his understanding back then, the demon god emperor was still outside the distant dragon-resisting mountain pass. Even if Yu Yi wanted to contact the demon god emperor, it would have been impossible for him to make it in time. As a result, Long Haochen did not suspect Yu Yi had tricked him. She could only be explained as being kept in the dark by the demon god emperor. Tell me what you want to say, Long Haochen said indifferently. He did not show that he chose to continue to trust her, but neither did he blame her for what happened last time. Yu Yi looked at the mature Long Haochen and said, you must have found what happened last time to be strange. How was the demon god emperor able to grasp your movements so accurately? I can tell you the answer now. It's because of the star demon god's great prophecy technique. Not only has the star demon god's great prophecy technique discovered that you will pose as a great threat to the future of the demons, it's also found out that last time was their only chance to deal with you. He even used the great prophecy technique to sense the method and process to deal with you. He had calculated when you would appear in the star demon pagoda. Everything the demon god emperor did prior to that was to make you lower your guard. Only the demon god emperor and the star demon god know the details of this. Even my father does not know. Long Haochen understood. He nodded, is that the case? Then no wonder. Yu Yi saw Long Haochen believe her a little, so she slightly relaxed as well. Do you still remember the cooperation I mentioned last time? You're already the chairman of the Temple Union now, so you have authority among the humans. This time, I've come to continue our cooperation. Long Haochen said, then, you think I can defeat the demon god emperor? Yu Yi shook her head, no. In terms of strength, I don't feel very optimistic about you. However, we are willing to wager at this time, because it might be the only chance. Once you are defeated by the demon god emperor, the humans won't be able to fight back for the next few thousand years at the very least. And the star demon god Visago's great prophecy technique foretold that their chance last time was their only opportunity. Since you survived, you have become an important turning point for the decline of the demon race. The great prophecy technique of the star demon god is consistently accurate, which is also one of the reasons why we are gambling on this time. Long Haochen said, I need you to show your sincerity. Yu Yi nodded, of course. The demon god emperor has already passed down orders for the demon god of death Samijina, hell demon god Marbas, and the bear demon god Veilfor to lead over 30 demon gods, and split into two, leading their million-man army of elites to attack the southeastern fort and myriad beasts mountain pass. They have to breach the defenses of the forts and bring the war deep into the human territory, primarily focusing on kidnapping humans and ransacking goods. At the same time, the demon god emperor has ordered Arbao to serve as the vanguard with 20 devil dragons under his clansmen to make his way over here. The demon god emperor himself will lead the majority of the elites from the Moon Demon clan and Star Demon clan, as well as 20 demon gods, and the entire Devil Dragon clan. They are currently making their way over. As a conservative estimate, there are over 200 powerhouses above the 9th step. There should be 1,000 above the 8th step. According to how much time has passed and Arbao's hatred for you, he should have crossed the Yale province in half a day at most. The demon god army and his main army will roughly be 8 hours behind him. With what Yu Yi had said, the bright glimmer of hope could not help but become terrified. One was due to Long Houchen's predictions. The demon god emperor really did split his army into 2. The other was because of the terrifying force the demon god emperor had brought with him. At least in the past 1,000 years, there had never been over 20 demon gods that fought in a single battle against the humans, not to mention the fact that there were also powerhouses from the Devil Dragon clan, Moon Demon clan, and Star Demon clan. There were over 200 9th step powerhouses. Just how terrifying of a force was that? They were basically outnumbered 10 to 1 now. The demons truly were powerful and prosperous. What surprised them even more was how Yu Yi had provided them with precise information, without any hesitation, with the enemy's arrival time in particular. This would play a crucial role in their next move. On the battlefield, a single piece of information could decide victory many of the times. Yu Yi had not even stated any conditions in exchange for the information. She just mentioned it like that. If everything she said was true, then they would be able to find a way to deal with the demon god emperor, albeit being powerful. However, to Yu Yi and everyone else's surprise, Long Houchen said calmly, "You still haven't demonstrated your sincerity." Yu Yi was surprised at first, before answering in irritation, "Isn't this enough? What else do you want? Are you thinking I'm lying to you? I can use my own life to guarantee that everything I said is true. If you don't believe it, feel free to set down a seal on me, until you have confirmed the information. If the information's false, then I'll let you do whatever you want with me." Long Houchen shook his head. "It's not that I don't believe your information, except it's just information. You still haven't demonstrated your sincerity. You are a part of an organization. You aren't alone. I also believe that after all these years of development, your organization shouldn't be weak and possesses a certain amount of influence over the entire demon race. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had the confidence to come find me. Am I correct? I need you to show me sincerity, which is the sincerity of your organization, not just you. As a result, I want to know who the true leader of your organization is. If you are willing to tell me, then I will believe you and our collaboration will be established." After leading the human army into the demon's territory, Long Houchen split the army into 6 and dealt heavy blows to 6 demon provinces in the north. However, he did not engage in too much killing. He did this as a demonstration to Yu Yi's organization, so he could wait for the organization to contact him. However, he had never thought that Yu Yi, who had vanished for quite some time among the demons, would personally come. Yu Yi suddenly became rather pale with what Long Houchen said, because she suddenly felt that she had drifted further apart from Long Houchen, such that their relationship was completely established on their interests. His gaze towards her remained just as calm as before. A hint of sadness spread through her heart. "Yeah, he and I were never supposed to mix. Isn't our relationship purely built off our interests?" Yu Yi understood that while Long Houchen's death the last time was not her fault, but the matter had displeased Long Houchen and his squad greatly. She was right. Long Houchen really did not blame her. He also knew that it wasn't her information that was wrong. However, her information had still thrown the entire bright glimmer of hope into danger after all. The true reason why Long Houchen had so much malice towards her was because of the pain Kia had to go through in the Tower of Eternity to revive him. Whenever he couldn't sleep and thought about what Caia had gone through in the Tower of Eternity, his heart would ache to the point where it was suffocating. It was normal for Yu Yi to suffer from his anger as well. He had already been extremely rational. For the sake of the bigger picture, for the Temple Union to defeat the demons, he did not blame Yu Yi. As Yu Yi stood there and thought, Long Houchen did not worry at all. He had plenty of patience. Yu Yi's personal visit had actually shown plenty of sincerity already, but the greatest secret of their organization, without a doubt, was the identity of their leader. Yu Yi had once revealed that they were a demon god, but demon gods differed drastically from one another. The demon gods ranked toward the bottom would not even be as powerful as a mature devil dragon. The higher the demon gods rank, the more influence they possessed among the demon race, which also made Yu Yi's organization more powerful. Long Haochen was uncertain whether Hao Yu would tell him this information. If Yu Yi chose not to in the end, he would actually continue his collaboration with her organization, but if she did, the relationship of their collaboration would obviously be closer. Part 2 end here.